Hello, fellow gamers. Ever since this game's release in 2002, Kingdom Hearts has been widely known for its boss fights. Some laughably easy, and some difficult, and others just nightmarishly hard. The final mix version just added more, totaling 89 bosses from story mode fights, to Olympus Coliseum fights, and even alternate pathways through the game. But which one's the best though? And a lesser asked question, which is the weakest for that matter? Well, I'm actually not going to tell you my own opinion. Instead, I came up with a ranking system to determine which bosses are actually the most difficult objectively. Different players may have different experiences overall, so it does come down to personal preference, but I think you'll agree with most, if not all, of my boss placements on this list. Well, with this objective ranking system, it brings up a very important question. What exactly makes a boss difficult? Well, strength, defense, and HP are a good place to start. We could just convert those directly into points. Well, if Rock Titan's anything to go by, we know that it's not that simple. So I also graded bosses on movement speed, attack speed, and the amount of damage they inflict per second, or DPS. You're going to see those scores on screen right now. Certain battles will have gimmicks that make them easier or harder, and the boss will either gain or lose 500 points based on what type of gimmick that is, and these gimmicks do stack. Another feature that determines difficulty is the presence of additional mobs in the area, and of course, how strong are these mobs. So they receive the following mob bonuses that you see on screen. So level 1 enemies are things like shadows and soldiers and musical Heartless and the like. Level 2 are things like gargoyles, white knights, search ghosts, that kind of thing. And level 3 are things like invisibles, defenders, dark balls, and that sort. They also gain points for every move in their arsenal, at 100 points per move. Of course, every boss is easy if you level grind too high, so bosses have an expected level that they expect to fight Sora at for an optimal experience. So we take Sora's expected level, and we multiply that by 7. They gain 200 points for every resistance to a damage type, 500 points for an immunity to a damage type, and another 500 if they absorb a certain damage type. And they also gain an extra 1000 points if they're able to heal themselves or their allies, because we all know how much difficulty that sort of thing adds. Certain bosses will have moves that are hard to either interrupt or dodge without iframes, and some bosses, and I'm looking at one in particular, can actually hit you even while you've got iframes. They gain the following points for those features. Bosses will also lose points based on an effort score. Basically, is this boss intentionally easy, like a tutorial boss? Is this boss a joke boss? Can I beat this boss by doing very little, or even by doing absolutely nothing? Well, in that case, they lose the following points for those features. Now, the main point losses that you're going to see on this list are whether or not you can cheese this boss. If you can cheese a boss, then they lose the following points based on how difficult it is to cheese them. And yes, these cheese methods do stack. Now, what doesn't stack, however, is whether or not there are safe zones in the fight. Basically, can I stand in a certain area and be completely safe from all damage there? If so, that's a full safe zone, and the boss loses 5,000 points for that. Or, can I avoid most of the enemy's attacks, but not all of them? If so, that's a relative safe zone, and the boss loses only 1,000 points for that. Well, it's all well and good talking about it, so let's just get to the part you all came for, and jump straight into the list. Well, starting things off in Monstro, with not just the weakest boss in the game, but a serious contender for weakest boss in the entire franchise. With a mighty boss score of minus 45,356, we present Parasite Cage 1 Pre-Neverland. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely there are other bosses in the game that deserve this title of biggest letdown in the franchise. But no, this absolute joke of a boss takes the brown medal as the worst boss in the game for one major reason. Yeah, just like that one girl you met at the bar, she can't hurt you if you never approach her. So take some pro-gamer advice and hang back to let your emotionally unavailable friend pound it into the ground for you, while you go off to go and do some well-earned push-ups. Thanks, Riku. You're such a good friend. Riku is invincible for this entire fight, and he'll slowly but surely wear the boss down for you over the course of about 15 minutes. So free up your calendar, guys. This is gonna take a while. This trick alone, if you can even call it that, makes Parasite Cage 1 the only boss in the entire series where you can literally go AFK and still win. Your controller could die as you enter the arena, and you would still win. The only downside is that you do eventually have to poke it once to finish the fight. But hey, a spell from a safe distance gets the job done well enough, and if you choose Thunder as your spell of choice, because of the animation, you don't even have to move from your starting spot, making this boss even more of a joke than he already was. The fact that you can win by literally doing nothing deducts 20,000 boss points. But if somehow, for some reason, you just can't resist the urge to press buttons, you can assist your buddy with the time-honored boss slaying technique of pressing exactly 2 buttons. Pressing R1 and triangle will get Donald and Goofy to join in on this gangbang, temporarily. That's another 10,000 boss points down the toilet for that strategy too. He has 450 health, 20 strength, and 17 defense, all of which are irrelevant since you can literally just wait him out. He has resistances to fire, blizzard, and stun. Again, all irrelevant since he's not going to live long enough to use them. Sora's expected level here is of course level 1, because doing nothing literally doesn't require any stats. He technically has 4 moves, which nets him 400 points, and while that may look scary, let's be honest, we all lost to him on the first attempt. Even I did. Don't lie, we all lost to the weakest boss in the franchise at least once. There's also a full safe zone in the form of 99% of the frigging arena that drops his score another 5,000 points. Add in his slow attacks, low DPS, and tier 1 movement, aka flailing around helplessly in the center of the room like an abandoned toddler in the kiddie pool, and yeah, he's not getting off the bottom of this list. Oh, and speedrunners figured out that you could stun lock him by perfectly timed jump attacks. That's another minus 1,000 for being cheesable by somebody with a caffeine addiction and godlike reflexes. Number 88. Taking the number 88 slot, and the esteemed rank of second worst boss in potentially the whole franchise, with a total boss score of minus 25,356, we have Parasite Cage 1, Post Neverland. Yes, you're hearing that right, this is not an editing mistake. It is in fact the same boss again. Same moves, same stats, same weird jellyfish body, except this time there's a slight difference. Yeah, this time we have to do it without our heterosexual life partner. And that's heterosexual with a little h, by the way. We all see how hard you like to grip that sword, Riku. Anyway, while Sasuke over here is off doing something broody and dramatic instead of chasing a wooden puppet through the bowels of a giant space whale, we're left to the true, unbridled fury of the legendary Parasite Cage 1. This legendary boss checks that you're not a robot by requiring you to press lock-on and triangle to send Donald and Goofy's unconscious bodies into battle. Now, your party members can do the fight for you, but they run into the glaring problem of not being Riku, causing this boss to be a test of not only basic humanity, but also your patience, by requiring you to wait a full 30 or so minutes for your hard-earned victory. It's hard being the Keyblade's chosen warrior sometimes. Yeah, we're cheering you on, Keyblade Hero 3.
Keyblade Hero 3!
So, let the autopilot duo take care of business while you go make a sandwich or something. They'll get knocked around a few times, sure, but if you wait long enough, they'll come back swinging, before eventually getting knocked right back down. It'll take a while. Eventually, they'll wear him down. You still have to deal the final blow, but thunder from a safe spot in the distance will finish the job. And again, because of the animation, you don't even have to move from your spot. No danger, no effort, just a slightly more tedious version of the last fight. Like watching the director's cut of a movie you didn't like the first time. Number 87. With a combined boss score of minus 23,031 points, it's Parasite Cage 1, this time post-Kairi rescue. Now, for those of you who are unaware, after you rescue Kairi in the late game, all the bosses in the game get a stat boost. This means this oversized jelly blob now has 750 health, 35 strength, and 27 defense. Sounds threatening, right? Yeah, no. Same story as before. Do a basic test of humanity to your home console by pressing 2 buttons, walk away, and let our half-unconscious party members do the heavy lifting. It'll take quite a bit longer to win due to the increased health and defenses, and since Donald and Goofy would take about 60 seconds to get back up after being downed, well, this means that it may not be enough to simply walk away and make yourself a sandwich. You may have to make a full-blown 3-course dinner, write a novel, take a nap. Hey, you may even have to leave the game running overnight. But eventually, slowly but surely, they will wear it down to 1 HP for the Thunder finisher. And by that time, the only damage you will have taken is the emotional variety when you see your electric bill at the end of the month. Basically, it's just Parasite Cage 1, just with a bit more health to politely whittle down. No version of this boss is escaping the bottom of this list. Number 86. With a combined boss score of minus 22,078 points, we now have Parasite Cage 1. This time with... Nah. I'm just kidding. We're out of those now. Anyway, finally escaping from the Parasite Cage 1 curse and all the way over to Deep Jungle, we're introduced to a boss so terrible, so worthless, so irrelevant, that it doesn't even have a page on the Kingdom Hearts wiki. That's how you know you suck. Not even one sentence dedicated to you. Not even a meme. Now that's how you know you've hit rock bottom. I'm of course referring to the Dark Gourd. This boss has no health, no strength, no defense, and no attacks. And it doesn't move. Yep, it's just a glorified piñata. And just like Yo Mama, all it does is stand there and take it until you get bored and finish. Now, while it doesn't have any health, what it does have is a hit counter of 15. Simply hit it 15 times and you win. AKA, that's 5 basic combos from Sora. It's protected, by an infinite spawn of level 1 Power Wilds. And I put protected in air quotes, since they provide about as much protection as my dad's condom collection, and you are all bearing witness to the results of that. They can be decently annoying to fight at this early stage of the game, but just take a tip from my dad's parenting handbook and ignore them while you spam X on the big fruit thing. There is a relative safe zone that you can create by just standing up here on this platform, minus 1000 points, and of course, not that you'd ever need to do this, but there's a trick here to make this boss even easier. By casting spells on the 4 flowers. The Power Wilds come from 4 spawn points, and by casting spells on each flower, you shut off 1 spawn location at a time. Cast the spell on all 4 flowers and you will remove all spawn points. This means it'll be completely defenseless. You probably didn't even know you could do this. And why would you? Literally nobody in history has ever had to make this boss easier to win. This boss was only ever supposed to be a distraction so that Clayton could round up the gorillas for the main plot of the world, which technically makes this boss intentionally easy, and therefore causes it to lose another 5,000 points. Now, let's move on to the next spot of the list before it overtakes Parasite Cage 1. Number 85. With a combined boss score of minus 14,901, we have Rock Titan, also going by the name Lithos. Yes, he has a name, just in case you wanted to LARP as a person who gives a frick. Yes, Rock Titan, the only boss in the game whose AI combat protocols are powered by 2006 Internet Explorer. This guy single-handedly proves that raw stats alone don't mean much when determining a boss's difficulty. At 2100, this boss has the highest freestanding HP bar in the game. That's 7 health bars. To put that into perspective, Sephiroth only has 6. He also ties with the biggest super bosses in the game, including Sephiroth, at 46 strength and defense. Sounds terrifying, right? Until you see him in action, which you may be able to if you wait around long enough and compare distances. He's a tier 2 boss in terms of movement, but let's be honest, this is an honorary title since he moves about as fast as the literal crust of the earth. He loses 1,000 points for being slower than my grandmother at the supermarket, and another 3,000 for attacking like he's on dial-up internet. When he does hit you, which is rare, it actually does hurt a lot. He can actually one-shot you at lower levels, earning him 5,000 boss points, or critical damage, which he promptly squanders by being hilariously easy to avoid. Yes, he's technically the final boss of the Hades Cup, and no, that doesn't make him any more threatening. He's basically a glorified piñata. And if you really want to insult him, just make your way up to this precariously placed neck spike, where you can just stand around Parasite Cage 1 style, while letting your party members slowly grind it down for you while he tries to figure out how to get you off his back by endlessly shaking like your local meth addict on a loop, until you decide to put him out of his misery with a thunder spell. If you don't want to climb up onto his head for some weird reason, some challenge maybe, you can just continually glide away and let Donald and Goofy handle it. They will kill him before he even crosses the room. He can also be cheesed, if you can call it that, by standing on his head and mashing the attack button, if you insist on being an active participant in the battle for whatever reason. The only way you're reasonably losing to this guy is to lose by accident, which is exactly how most people do lose to him. And let's be honest, we've all been there. We've all lost to this guy by getting greedy. Just admit it. The first step to solving your problems is admitting that you have one. Number 84. Leaving the bottom 5 with a mighty minus 12,646 points, we have Sabor 1. Yeah, this leopard, which we all lost to in our first playthrough. Oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to see a trend here. Turns out to be the 5th weakest boss in the game. She, and I mean, yes, she, as she is canonically female, eat your heart out, Jiminy's Journal. She has 90 HP, 12 strength, and 11 defense, and 3 resistances to fire, blizzard, and stun. She also has 4 moves, and an expected Sora level of 13. So far, pretty average for when you fight her. While she does pose a decent threat to newer players on their first few encounters due to being trapped in a small treehouse and not yet knowing how to cast Cure, she is actually super easy to beat in this encounter, if you'd believe it. You can cheese her very easily by just luring her over here to the back of the room, and then coming back over here, and as you can see, she's now stuck on this piece of dangling cloth. Yeah, she just stands there, glaring, swiping at nothing, occasionally trying to roar her way out of her soft lock prison. From here on out, we've taken away a little of her mystique. Seriously, what did Tarzan's dad do to that dress to make it so sturdy? He must have gotten some pretty lonely nights. Well, at least he hung it up on the washing line before he was viciously mauled by this leopard. Oh my god, no wonder she doesn't want to touch that thing. She knows what it's been through. She also gets caught on the stairs, this invisible wall underneath the stairs, and sometimes her own tail.
Sabor, danger.
Yes, Tarzan. Sabor very dangerous. If you close your eyes and pretend that she's Sephiroth. Despite all of this, we all lost to her at least once. Admit it, you were new, you were unprepared, and she quite literally jumped out of the woodwork like a jungle-themed horror villain. Now, she's just a noob trap with 6,000 total boss points deducted for her full and relative safe zones. Number 83. Narrowly avoiding the bottom 5 with a mighty minus 11,227 boss points, we have Dragon Maleficent on Proud Mode. Yes, specifically Proud Mode, because apparently that's the difficulty where this boss somehow becomes easier. Yeah, another boss we all got stuck on at one point in our journey is actually one of the weakest bosses in the game. Wow, there really is some sort of trend here. For context, she has 1200 HP, 31 strength and 24 defense. So as you can see, she's pretty bulky, which can easily cause the fight to drag on. I'll see myself out. Anyway, the reason we're using the Proud Mode version of Maleficent is because it gives us access to a Proud Mode exclusive ability called EXP0 that we can use to cheese the battle super easily to the point where this can't even be called a fight anymore. This ability, in case you haven't heard, is the single most broken thing in this game, and it turns the battle into a complete joke. To make it work, simply equip the ability in the menu, do one full combo, summon Genie, and now watch her health bar plummet faster than my self-esteem that one time I downloaded Tinder. Fortunately for her, this ability is exclusive to Proud Mode, so ironically, beginner and standard versions of this fight are actually harder. That's right, Proud Mode, the difficulty that's supposed to challenge you, actually makes this fight easier. That's the power of damage storage at work, I suppose. But let's pretend for a moment that you don't want to use our reality-bending indentured servant. Well, this actually doesn't really change much, because you could still cheese her with Stop and Gravity. Simply summon Bambi to keep your MP up, cast Stop to freeze her in a convenient position, after which she becomes about as threatening as a tiny kitten in the path of a steamroller, otherwise known as a... Then just alternate between Stop and 2 gravities. Stop, Gravity, Gravity. Stop, Gravity, Gravity. Stop, Gravity, Gravity. Stop, Gravity, Gravity. Making sure to land inside of Bambi's bubbles. Not just to keep your MP high, but to make sure that Bambi continually spawns more, so you can keep this assault up. Now, as long as you have 10 MP, it should only take you 30 gravities to perform, making the fight extremely short. Also, did I mention that she has Tier 1 movement, which means that she stays in place the whole fight. That means that safe zones are pretty plentiful, like up here on the vines, where only a single attack can even hit you, allowing you to take her down with Simba of all things. Now, if you get up on the dragon's back...
Get up on the Hydra's back!
It'll cause her AI to absolutely freak the hell out, and she will rotate endlessly on the spot, allowing you to get in tons of free damage. And no guys, the endless spinning is not a JoJo reference. As an added bonus, here's some cool lore. Dragon Maleficent was likely supposed to be the Heartless version of Maleficent, before some convenient retcon came along. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice that Dragon Maleficent actually doesn't have a shadow. Pureblood Heartless, like Shadows and Dark Balls, don't have shadows, while Emblem Heartless do, even when they're invisible. She only ever lacks a shadow in this game. Dragon Maleficent. Dragon these nuts. Number 82. With a combined boss score of minus 10,949, we have... Yeah, we all knew this guy would be somewhere near the bottom of the list. At number 82, we have Darkside 1, the tutorial boss. And yes, you're reading those stats right. Darkside 1 really has 2 strength, 2 defense, and 2 moves. He lays the groundwork for all future Darkside encounters, being as tall as a skyscraper and about as threatening as a warm glass of milk and feety pajamas. It has 240 HP. For reference, he's tied with Fat Bandits, and they have more strength than this thing. Yeah, Fat Bandits are harder to beat than Darkside 1. Imagine that. Obviously, he's intentionally easy to beat due to, you know, being the tutorial boss, so minus 5,000 points for being intentionally easy. But hey, you can actually lose to him if you want, and you don't even need to feel bad about it, because that's actually the speedrun strat. Please ignore the clip you see on screen of me dying. I'm not bad at the game, I'm just a speedrunner, guys. This is optimal gameplay. I don't suck at this game, you suck! Most of his difficulty points actually come from the 6 shadows that he spawns to aid him in battle. Otherwise though, he's tier 1, in that he doesn't move from his starting spot. He attacks slowly, does low DPS, and only has 2 moves. A punch and a laser beam. And since I don't have much to say about this boss, I'll tell you some neat trivia. Did you know Darkside 1 is the first boss in the game that steals Sora's shadow? Yeah, look at Sora's feet. His shadow is missing throughout the entire fight, but it's actually present throughout the rest of the world. The only other boss in the game to steal Sora's shadow is Anti-Sora. Also, you get very different end music if you beat him versus when you lose. Number 81. With a combined boss score of minus 8,160, here's the Archbehemoth on Proud Mode. Exclusive to Final Mix and located at the end of the world, the strategy is to stand on its back and hit the horn. It's garbage, but apparently that's the intended way to fight it. Of course, we all know that there's a better way of handling this. Just use the EXP0 exploit. Simply equip it in the menu, do a finisher on the horn, summon Genie, and let him just finish the job. And congratulations, you've just reduced a boss fight to a few button presses. Archbehemoth has 1 resistance to stun, and 4 immunities, that being to fire, blizzard, thunder, and stop. However, Sora only needs to be level 10 to consistently win. So in case you missed it, his list of immunities does not cover gravity, which means that you can do this. Summon Bambi to keep your MP up, and yeah, I'm a Dark Souls player, so I already know not to mess with gravity, but this may be a new experience for you guys. The Archbehemoth does have 1 uninterruptible move, the purple Thundaga circle. If you're too close, you can't dodge it. But I mean, who cares? Just tank it and heal it with Cure. You've got another 95 seconds before it does it again, so it's not like this thing is gonna hurt you too much. Extremely slow. High damage though, with a massive safe zone on its back. It's a glorified punching bag that is just begging to be cheesed, and that is exactly what we're gonna do. Number 80. With a combined boss score of minus 7,766, we have Oogie Boogie's Boss Manor, pre-Kyrie Rescue. Much like the Dark Gourd before it, this boss doesn't move and has no real stats. Unlike Dark Gourd though, this boss is not technically the manor itself, but is in fact the 7 Dark Orbs scattered around its body. And since these Dark Orbs do attack with fire spells, it technically counts as a tier 1 boss, not a tier 0. If you destroy 3 of these Dark Orbs, then level 2 Gargoyle Heartless will spawn, making the rest of your job that much harder. These gargoyles can be a massive pain to deal with, but don't worry, we've got a cheese method for this. So the real strategy is simple. Just take out whichever 2 orbs are the hardest for you. This comes down to personal preference. And then as for every other orb, all 5 remaining, just whittle them down to 1 HP. Now since they're technically part of the boss, your party members can't finish them off. So just hit them down low enough, and if you are afraid of getting them below 1 HP and accidentally destroying them, you can just press lock on and triangle and get your party to chip them down to 1 for you. Now once you're done with this, make your way to the very top and take out this orb. Now just jump down the structure and finish them off 1 by 1 before the gargoyles can even spawn and make your life difficult. He does have a lantern fireball attack, which can get annoying, but you can just heal through it if you get hit. Oh, and as a bonus fact, you can actually summon Dumbo immediately after entering this fight and fly straight to the upper levels, skipping the need to even climb the house. Number 79. Over to Hollow Bastion for a familiar face. With a combined boss score of minus 7,728, we have Behemoth on Proud Mode. Yes, the OG Behemoth. The discount Rhydon that never quite got popular enough to get a Mega Evolution, but still, we've seen him around long enough to get sick of looking at his shiny form. OG Behemoth is not very far off from the variant that replaces it in the Final Mix version. It's essentially the same fight, exact same abilities, less attack and less defense if you believe it. Now, the journal likes to paint Archbehemoth as being weaker, but the only thing weaker about it is the HP bar. And of course the player's will to care about this glorified palette swap boss. And in true Rhydon fashion, the way to win is aim for the horn, Pikachu. Since we're using the Proud Mode version of the fight, there are two cheese strats available to us. The first is EXP 0, and the second is Gravity Spam. For EXP 0, simply slap the ability on in the menu, climb up on Behemoth's back like you're reenacting a scene from The Lion King, land one full combo on the horn, summon Genie, and sit back while Genie destroys this giant ugly unicorn in under 10 seconds. As for Gravity Spam, which is effective on every difficulty by the way, just summon Bambi, yes that Bambi, and just bounce around spamming gravity like you're trying to impress your college physics professor. Just make sure Sora's level 30 or so if you're going to use the gravity method. Not because the fight gets hard, but because gravity doesn't quite work as well for the last few health bars. So you may need to actually physically hit the horn a few times, which if you're underleveled can feel less like fighting a giant rainbow void monster, and more like gently exfoliating a tank. Oh, and as for trivia, you can re-enter the boss room anytime you want afterwards, and you'll be treated to a light show straight out of an early 2000s DVD screensaver. It's empty, it's colourful, and if you want to play Kingdom Hearts while tripping out on those Joe Rogan Heartless, well, there's not very many better places in the game to do it. Number 78. With a combined boss score of minus 7,328, we have... yes, the post-rescue version of Oogie Boogie's Manor. As a child, Oogie was told he could be anything he wanted. So he took that to heart and decided to become his entire frigging house. Why, just wait until he sees the electricity bill from having to run an entire death factory inside of his friggin' spleen. This fight is a slightly more caffeinated version of his earlier form, now with 1050 HP, 35 strength, 27 defense, and the exact same amount of whatever the hell the animators of this game were smoking. His gargoyle friends are a little stronger too, but let's be honest, if you're using late game glide and a half-functioning brain, they won't even get the chance to come into existence before he's half dead already. The darkness orbs are still the main targets for the battle, since you can take out the least two convenient orbs, personal preference, before any gargoyles even appear, then just casually fly around popping them like stress balls with a single hit. You can destroy the lanterns to nerf his fire attacks, but that's like voluntarily doing a group project alone. I mean, it's technically impressive, but I mean, what do you want, a trophy? He also gains a little swipe attack if you break the lantern. Oh, he's trying to seem like a multi-layered boss fight. In a metaphorical sense, of course. In a physical sense, he's already a multi-layered boss fight. In fact, climbing up this guy to exploit his life or death dependence on his acne is part of the whole gimmick. Or you could just summon Dumbo from the bridge and float to the top, skipping over most of the fight entirely. Because, I mean, who needs platforming when you can just ride a flying elephant like you're 5 tequila shots deep at Disneyland? Or, because you're playing, you know, the post-rescue version of the game, you could just glide over there. As a funny tip, you can climb on Oogie's face and stand on his lips like Spider-Man, or at least a very hesitant dentist. Overall, Oogie's mansion goes down so easily that even a little girl with a skipping rope could provide a better challenge. Number 77. With a boss score of minus 6,638, we have a little girl with a skipping rope. Selphie is the most annoying of the Destiny Islands trio by a good mile. However, her low health and how easy it is to cheese her with the barrel that we can leave in the middle of the fight, which will disrupt her most powerful attack, makes her the weakest of the three by far. Truly the MVP of the game. Well done, Barrel-kun. We love a reliable king. Her HP is only 45, the lowest of the crew, but she makes up for it with her unpredictable skipping rope attacks, and the rather annoying ability to preemptively dodge my sword swings better than I dodge child support. This is compounded by her very annoying and hard to interrupt skipping rope attacks and evasive maneuvers. Her resistances are unknown, however she does seem to be the only member of the FF trio with stun resistance, as she shows resilience against the stun impact move, something that pretty much always stuns the other two. You can access 2 full safe zones in the arena, one by climbing up here on the sandbank, and another by standing over here in the ocean behind this invisible wall. We only count safe zones once on this list, but they are both full safe zones. She cannot hit you here. Another cool bit of lore for her though, if you look at her in the journal, she's one of the few characters with an animation. Even Tidus and Waka don't get one of those. Somebody on the dev team clearly had a favourite, it seems. Number 76. Still on Destiny Islands, with a boss score of minus 6,608, we have Waka. Local aspiring sports star, humanitarian, and great guy to boot. He even gives new gamers the distinct honour of being their personal punching bag. Just don't expect to see him in a Turkish barber's, that's all I'm saying. He has the most HP of the trio at 75, but that's like being the tallest garden gnome at the supermarket. It's the most fun to throw rocks at. His main gimmick is tossing a beach ball at you like a really slow dodgeball game, or what somehow counts as real physical damage. Seriously, it's a beach ball. What are they made of? Tungsten? And why do you have so many of them? Where are you even hiding these? Anyway, he's slow, his attacks are predictable and highly punishable, and he's basically just the training dummy for the parrying mechanic. And yes, you can team up against him with the true protagonist of this game, Barrel-kun. Oh, look at him there, he's so kawaii. You can even get a free, full safe zone behind where Barrel-kun spawns, causing Waka to count for the minus 5,000 penalty of having a full safe zone in the arena. As for trivia, if you keep on refusing to fight Tidus, he will eventually give some NPC dialogue where he says that he and Waka are working on a game where you play with a ball underwater. A clear reference to Blitzball, a sport that somehow made Final Fantasy X more confusing and memeable than it already was. Number 75. Staying on track of Destiny Island's bosses, with a boss score of minus 6,523, we have Tidus, or Tidus. His name's never said out loud in the game, and frankly, after fighting him, that's probably for the best. He has the same base stats as his friends, but with 4 moves instead of 3, meaning he's at least trying to be a real fighter in this game. Ironically, this makes him the easiest of the 3 to fight, since you can just stand in place and his little red stick is too short to hit you. Meanwhile, you can just smack him with your sleep me stick until he stops breathing. He's the only one with a resistance to Barrel-kun, probably because he gets right up in your face and doesn't seem to notice that barrels matter just as much as humans. Barrel-kun will rise one day. You will all see. He will rise to the heavens and slay the gods themselves. Just wait. You will see. You will all see. And yes, back on the topic of Tidus. Tidus, Stick Boy. He's a grinding gold mine. Simply parry his wide swing over and over again for 250 hours of your precious IRL lifespan, and you can hit level 100 before you even leave Destiny Islands. Yeah, that's right, 250 hours of your life gone before you even meet Donald Duck. Number 74, with a total boss score of minus 6,332, and a charisma score low enough to fail the shakedown at Riften, we have Crank Tower. It's basically Dark Gourd, except the community cares enough about it to give it an entry on the Kingdom Hearts wiki. It's tier 0 because it doesn't move, it doesn't have any attacks of its own, but what it does have is cards.
Cards!
Lots of cards. 8 of them, to be precise. 4 red and 4 black. And they're pretty strong for the time you fight them. Since they technically are part of the boss because you can't permanently down them like you can with Dark Gourd's Power Wilds, this technically means the boss doesn't attack or defend for itself, but does have a strength stat. This is despite the fact that just like my mother-in-law, all it does is stand there for no adequately explained reason, wasting everybody's time and serving no functional purpose. But somehow defeating it causes the entire Wonderland monarchy to collapse faster than Donald's unconscious body after the menu turns red. You can make the fight easier for yourself by hitting the queen to make the red cards panic, like their lives are at stake, because you full well know you've basically sentenced these indentured servants to death by meddling with the world order. But hey, they're not humans or barrels, so their rights don't matter. It has no health, but it does have a hit counter of 24. Simply hit the tower 24 times, and it's over. Yep, 24. That's 8 regular combos. If you fail the pink box minigame leading up to the fight, the game will trap Donald and or Goofy in a cage, which sounds bad until you realize you can free them by just smacking the bars a few times. In a nutshell, this fight is basically just a Dark Gourd reskin. It's a defenseless punching bag that uses minions to do the fighting. You can make the fight easier on yourself, but you don't have to because it's so easy, and its entire existence is nothing but padding for the game's runtime. As for trivia, if you enter the boss room from the Lotus Forest and open up Jiminy's journal, then immediately close the journal and then go and talk to the red guards, all the text boxes after the box minigame become nonsense, even by Wonderland standards. Now, this only works in the English version and is actually used by speedrunners, because the boxes can now be opened and closed a lot faster. After the fight is over, you can even go and chat with all the NPCs in the room, and you'll find that they are also spouting nonsense. Taking the slot of number 73, with a boss score of minus 6,265, we have Riku 1. Yes, this glorified Sasuke cosplayer is the strongest islander. He sets the standard for all future Riku fights by showcasing his obsession with the number 4. If you hit him 4 times, he'll retaliate with a flip kick, which is surprisingly hard to dodge even when you see it coming. Simply keep the number of hits that you've done in your mind as you fight him, and you can poke him for that 4th hit when you're feeling comfortable to dodge. Sounds annoying, but once you've memorized the pattern, you can just do this. Now, this really kills the mystique a bit, doesn't it? He's got 90 HP, 5 strength and 5 defense, making him just as hard hitting as the other islanders blow for blow, but more dangerous in the fact that he's trickier to predict than they are, due to actually having a half-functioning revenge value. Almost like the game wants us to put in some actual real-life effort to win this fight. Yeah, not on my watch. So I found a fun exploit. Simply stand on this wooden platform. There's an invisible wall that Riku can't cross. He'll just stand there taunting you, saying, "Come on," repeatedly until you re-enter his attack range. He's completely vulnerable in this animation, letting you get a few hits on him before you return safely to your platform, and watch him struggle to hit you because he refuses to stand on anything more wooden than his personality. It's only minus 1,000 points for this cheese because it actually is fairly hard to pull off. It does count as a full safe zone as well, so minus 5,000 points for that as well. And you can also get more safe zones by climbing up these trees. Number 72. With a total boss score of minus 6,227, we have Maleficent's oh-so-marketable Fursona, Dragon Maleficent, on Standard and Beginner mode. You guys remember how she was weaker on Proud mode? Yeah, not by much. Even without the EXP0 exploit, she still has a weakness to being frozen in time and smashed against the earth with the cumulative gravitational force of the frigging sun, fueled by the magical bubbles of a baby orphan deer. A lot of people might argue that that's everybody's weakness, but I'd say a skill issue myself. Be better, Maleficent. You're not the only one with problems. Shame on you. I'm not gonna lie, your attitude is really dragging me down. Yeah, I'll see myself out. Maybe the developers actually intended you to freeze her in time, because they actually wanted to pad out the game's runtime and this was the only way they could make the fight drag on. Feel free to laugh anytime you want, this joke is gonna get you eventually. I'm gonna keep on doing it. This is a time loop now. Yeah, well, besides spamming stop and gravity like all versions of this fight, you can also jump up on the vines near the back. Since she's a tier 1 boss, she will not be able to hit you up here with many of her attacks. And Simba or Genie can actually deal some decent damage to her even from a distance, without the EXP0 damage exploit. And once you're out of other low-cost options, you can stall for time with Tinkerbell while taking a more evasive approach. You can also ride her.
Get up on the Hydra's back!
Yes, Phil. By getting up on the Hydra's back. From here on out, all she will do is rotate on the spot because her AI thinks you're on the ground. She can hit you with her homing fire breath, but strangely enough, you can avoid the majority of this attack by using her spine as a shield. Also, if you want some extra fun, you can also tame her with the stop spell. Stop. 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 No. I said stop. Good, Dragon Lady. The speedrun tactic is basically the same as the gravity strategy, except just alternate between stop and physical combos. Because getting the Bambi summon requires you to wait at the bottom of a tree for 2 uninterrupted minutes, speedrunners decide to just use ethers instead. Also, as a piece of trivia, she retains her secret weakness to Dumbo even in dragon form. No wonder she's evil. Number 71. Just in time after riding our last entry into exhaustion, with a combined boss score of minus 5,775, we have the 3-way battle between Tidus, Selphie, and Wakka on Destiny Islands. Yeah, you thought we'd escape that place. This fight has the combined HP of all 3 individual bosses at 180, and combines their moveset into one of the most diverse movesets in the game, with 10 moves. To put this into perspective, Sephiroth has 12 moves, and Xemnas has 13. They have the same number of moves as Kurt Zisa. They are a decent challenge to a new player, but with a bit of experience, they can be cheesed pretty easily with the assistance of our best friend, Barrel-kun. Oh, look at him there, all kawaii! I mean, don't get carried away or anything. It's not like we like you or anything. Baka. Anyway, before the battle begins, you can just toss Barrel-kun at the center of the arena before even starting the battle, and he will just stay there to assist you during the 3-way. Anyway, Barrel-kun can block all of Selphie's attacks, which is the main benefit of having him here. It can block Wakka's normal attacks at a reasonable distance, although it's not consistent, and it can interrupt Tidus a little too. The main danger in this fight is Selphie's skipping rope charge, and Barrel-kun will eat that right up for us, allowing us to focus on taking down Wakka. If you keep Barrel-kun in his normal spot, you can hide from Wakka, providing a fully safe zone to hide away and heal if necessary. On top of this, you can stand in the water to protect you from Tidus and Selphie as well, allowing you to reflect Wakka's shots at the trio, as long as you don't accidentally leave the fight boundary. The strategy for the fight goes like this. Wakka will always start behind you. Focus on him first, because it stops him from getting cheap shots on you from behind. He has the most health of the 3, but he's the most defenseless. Also, once you've taken him down, you can freely stand in the safe zones to think over your next moves. Use Barrel-kun in the middle of the battlefield to parry Selphie's attacks, just in case you struggle to do it yourself. Meanwhile, you focus on Tidus, as you can easily score hits on him by just standing standing still and spamming the attack button. As long as you don't move the analog stick towards him, he will not be able to attack you because you have longer attack range than him. Selfie should be fairly easy from this point out. Short hopping into combos should be the fastest way to win, although this does require some practice, so just spam her into the corner with ground combos. These three are the perfect example of fighters who are weak alone, but quite a challenge when working together. A sort of Ornstein and Smo situation. Number 70. Yes, just barely beating out a group of literal teenagers with sticks and skipping ropes, we have, with a boss score of minus 5,681, the world-ending cosmic horror Darkseid. No, not that Darkseid. This one. Yeah, get used to seeing this guy. The franchise loves him a little too much. This Darkseid is significantly stronger than his previous entry. Except not really, because he's Darkseid. Were we ever afraid of him being too good? He also has two new attacks in his arsenal, the Orb of Darkness and the Shockwave attack, giving him a significant 200-point boost over his rival Darkseid 1. He also has slightly more health, and of course, he's not purposely easy, so he doesn't receive the joke boss penalty. He has 300 HP, 6 strength, and 6 defense. And not only this, but he's expanded his moveset from 2 to 4. His main danger, if you can even call it that, is the laser blast that he sends out of his chests. However, these can actually be reflected back at him for free damage. It's even part of the speedrun strategy to get a bit of extra damage on him. He spawns 6 shadows for help, which would be really scary if you couldn't despawn them by just walking over here onto this little peninsula. His big, dramatic Core of Darkness attack is just a free opportunity to smack him in the head. He'll then cause darkness to rain down, which can cause you to take some unexpected damage, and can make the timing of your attacks a little difficult for lower leveled players. But let's be honest, Darkseid is Darkseid. Let's not pretend that there's some grand strategy here. Just kill him and move on. For trivia, this Heartless was likely prevented from being spawned by Kairi summoning a light door to block the darkness from escaping the keyhole. So when Sora opened it using the Keyblade, he may have accidentally accelerated the apocalypse, destroying his homeworld and everyone on it. The other 6 princesses do something very similar in Hollow Bastion at the end of the game, holding back the darkness using their pure hearts to save the world from the more powerful Heartless, such as, maybe Darkseid's. Number 69. Now let's all be mature here, guys. Well, for our number 69 slot on the list, with a boss score of minus 5,599, we have a boss that reminds us that it's better down where it's wetter. The only boss with which I share a body type. Giant Ursula pre-rescue on Proud Mode, because you just know the tentacle monster had to be number 69. Come on, Japan, you knew exactly what you were doing. Proud Mode is actually a distinction here, since we can actually use the EXP0 strategy to make the fight easier. Simply equip EXP0 in the menu, and hit her with one full combo, which powers up all of your magic. Then use a boosted stop spell, which will now last longer because of the damage storage. Now, you can use Aurora to inflict massive damage while time is frozen. Simply recast stop every few seconds, just like my ex-girlfriend in the bedroom, and the fight will be over before either of you know it. If nothing else, you can just keep her frozen and attack her with one full combo, reapply stop, one full combo, reapply stop, etc, until she goes down on you. And she has 3 generic resistances to fire, blizzard, and stun, and weirdly no resistance at all to thunder, despite using the damn stuff herself, and being submerged in more salty fluid than my uncle's favourite sock. Hey, this is number 69. We're going low with this humor. Mariana's Trench low. But who knows, maybe the devs knew that she was number 69 and decided to have her play around with a giant electronic object. Hey, in her defense, what was she supposed to do since we killed her phallic pets? Still, she's a pretty fitting entry for our number 69 entry, and if you insist on beating her down the legit way, the best way to do it is to get behind her and just donkey punch her in the base of the skull until she screams and explodes. Or implodes. It's a good thing the developers decided not to have us penetrate her in this fight like they did in the movie, because God knows that humor would be a little too on the nose. As a bit of trivia, she's the only boss in the franchise to make Sora reveal his kink.
Sorry, Mommy.
Number 68. With a combined boss score of minus 5,278, we have Ursula post-Kairi rescue on Proud Mode. Oh, you thought we were done with the Anime Boy versus Tentacle Monster showdown. With more health, less dignity, and for some reason a slightly more satisfied look on her face since her last entry on the list. And significantly more alive as well. Well, don't worry, we'll fix that soon enough. After rescuing Kairi, she now has 1200 HP, 35 strength, and 27 defense, and a smile that makes you say, I need an adult. Well, don't worry, because just like her number 69 version, we can exploit the power of proper consent to our advantage. Stop! Oh, she actually stops. Look at that. Well, she's a lot of things, but that isn't one of them. Okay. Yeah, anyway, besides being a little bulkier, she's still very much outclassed by the stop plus aero strat. Even worse this time, since you're actually able to bring Aeroga into this fight if you grind for it, making her that much easier. You could beat her down with basic combos. Get hit by her lightning and heal through it. Or get hit by her bubbles and heal through it. Or let her bite you and heal through it. Truly, the tactical depth of this fight is outstanding. This is the Rick and Morty of boss fights. You need a very high IQ to understand this fight. Anyway, just win again by slapping her in the back of the head until she stops being a problem. Trivia-wise, if you swim behind Triton's throne, you can see a vague shape detailing what he would look like in polyp form. Number 67. Yes, we're back to Atlantica already for yet another weak boss. With a combined boss score of minus 4,469, can't escape that number, can we? We have, this time, a boss that you may have actually forgotten was a boss. Glot the Shark, pre-Kyrie rescue. Yeah, this shark does in fact count as a boss. Square Enix were really fishing at the bottom of the barrel with this one. It's the only boss in the game with some half-hearted foreshadowing just before fighting it. He can actually be quite a bit of a challenge if you just go in there guns blazing instead of attempting to actually pace yourself and dodge. And funny enough, a large reason why he's so low on the list is because of the few ways you can cheat and get some free breathing room. One thing you can do is interact with this story object behind the rock, which will open up a text box. And as long as you don't close the text box, Sora is invincible. Yeah, you can't recover or throw potions, but you can activate this prompt anytime you want, and you can even get creative and use it for iframes like this. Though it takes more skill doing this than what you're actually supposed to do. Now, while many people may count this as a full safe zone, I personally don't, since you're only relatively safe here. Hence the rating on the table you see on screen. However, since this text box is actually a story prompt, this technically counts as in-game plot armor. Other relative safe zones can be accessed by simply keeping your distance and not engaging with the shark at all. Also, you can exit the battle by swimming far enough away. He has 3 resistances to, you guessed it, fire, blizzard, and stun. And his moveset is just shark. He bite real hard, and he swim real good. And somehow this qualifies as 4 moves. He's a tier 2 boss, and his general movement speed is very slow. However, he can get around this slowness by charging at you with his ramming attack. If you're in a tough situation and you need to escape from him, you can simply cast stop and then run away. But let's be honest, by this point in the game you probably have enough resistances to win the war of attrition. And after you beat him, a bit of trivia ensues. He drops high potions and ethers on defeat. Number 66, the spookiest number on the list. With a combined boss score of minus 4,116, we have the Bogeyman himself, Oogie Boogie 1 pre-rescue. Yeah, because when you fight the literal Bogeyman, you expect a literal bag of bugs that thinks rolling dice is an acceptable method of attack. Yeah, not much to say here. He's more of an event than a boss, even if you don't cheese him, which we are going to do because this is Proud Mode. He reacts to the number of hits you land rather than the damage, and he will throw you off the platform if you hit him too much. Now here's how it works. If you can finish off his Gargoyle Heartless with a finisher, or just land a finisher on them and then finish them with fire or something, while you've got EXP0 equipped, you can summon Genie and hit him from across the room with his overpowered cosmic and magic attacks. It's ridiculously easy, and you can defeat the boss in literally 10 to 15 seconds if you do it right. He has 6 resistances, 2 to fire, 2 to blizzard, 1 to thunder, and 1 to stun. This, however, is offset by a weakness to physical strikes, which causes him to lose 250 points. However, he gains those points right back, plus more, with an immunity to stop magic. Big surprise, this is supposed to be his weaker version canonically, but he actually has more moves here at 6, for an extra 600 boss points. He can control 2 Heartless at a time. All 3 are level 2, and these are Gargoyles, Search Ghosts, and White Knights. If he rolls a 16 or higher when he rolls his dice, then he'll actually summon a healing machine, which technically makes him a healer as well, and gives him an additional 1,000 boss points for that. It's chance-based, however, since he can heal, we have to give him the points for it. As trivia, Oogie Boogie 1 is the only Disney boss to summon Heartless to help him in the fight, except for Maleficent, due to the artificial heart he consumed before the fight. Jafar couldn't really control them. He could spawn them, but he couldn't fight alongside them. Clayton got his heart taken, so he was a Heartless at that time. Captain Hook was afraid of the Heartless, and he seems to have them forced upon him, and Ursula never even used them to begin with. Oogie Boogie needed an artificial heart to control just 2 at a time. 2. Number 65. With a combined boss score of minus 4,110, we have Jafar Genie. Just. Yep, no proud mode, no post-rescue, pre-rescue shenanigans, no cheesing this one. No special tactics, he just plain sucks that bad that he's low on this list, no matter how you choose to fight him. Often voted as one of the weakest bosses in the game, far from the truth by the way. You're still very unlikely to lose to this guy. You're supposed to damage him by attacking Iago, who holds the lamp and tries to fly around and make you chase him to pad out the game's runtime. Or you can just cast Blizzard on him because it's funnier. Interestingly, Jafar Genie actually has a whole list of attacks that he never uses because he defaults to the lava glob throw unless you're standing in a very specific position. If you're standing a short distance away from the edge, not up against the invisible wall but just a few steps back, he will actually come over to you and start swiping at you with his hands. At this point, he's actually close enough to strike directly with the Keyblade. Yeah, you can actually hit Jafar directly with the Keyblade. If you parry his fists, he will hold it in pain for a few seconds before he starts shooting you with his heat vision. Yes, he has heat vision, which does thunder damage for some reason. And if you fight him long enough, he actually has a cure spell. Yeah, which qualifies him as a healer, right? No, he can't even do that right. Jafar Genie can use Cure, but only on Iago. And I mean, hilariously, it doesn't heal any damage, because Iago doesn't have any HP. The lamp does. But he does have the spell. That's something, right? It's an extra move in his moveset, and that's an extra 100 points for him. It doesn't do anything, but he sure can cast it. The whole gimmick for this fight is that Iago will fly around this rejected Tomb Raider level, and you have to chase him down. However, you can just choose to fight Jafar head-on, the fun way, in which case, Iago will actually realize that you don't give a frig about him, and he'll actually come and sit right in your face and surrender. He's a tier 2 boss, and he can, to some small degree, follow you around the arena. He does low DPS, and his attacks are extremely slow. He does have one attack though that is extremely hard to avoid, that being his heat vision. However, it can be avoided, so no points there. He has two bad gimmicks. The first one is his non-lava attacks, where he gets close enough to take damage, and the second is Iago flying around to stall for time. This would be a positive for him if Jafar's healing spell actually did anything, but as it stands, it's just a big flying bird weak spot. Number 64. With a total boss score of minus 3,773, it's finally time for Darkside 3. Ah yes, Darkside 3. The boss that somehow takes up more of your time than Darkside 1 or 2, even though it's the exact same fight with a few more hit points and slightly better stats. It's like getting the same gift for your birthday 3 years in a row, but having to smile and pretend that it's what you wanted the whole time. Anyway, Darkside 3 has 900 health, Arc Behemoth stats of 40 and 30, he even has 1 immunity. And unlike his first and second iterations, this immunity actually matters because it's in Sora's inventory when you fight him. It's an immunity to stuff. Also shout out to EXP0 because nothing says challenging fight like standing on Darkseid's shoulder and shooting his hands with Firaga. Who needs strategy when you can just break the game in half with a mechanic that's practically a cheat code? But this doesn't count as cheesing. Funny enough, this is exactly what EXP0 was built for, which just takes away half the fun of equipping it. It's only fun when we're doing something that we're not supposed to do, Squaresoft. Come on, get with the program. Fun fact, Darkside is based on an episode of The Twilight Zone, Tales from the Dark Side, so I guess if you don't want to face this boss, you could just pretend that you've entered an alternate dimension where he doesn't exist. This also ties Darkside to the Twilight Thorn from the second game, which is also based on The Twilight Zone. Number 63. With a total boss score of minus 3,748, we have Oogie Boogie 1 on Proud Mode after the Kairi Rescue. Well, we have yet another boss that's stronger on Standard or Beginner than it is on Proud. Because when you think of Proud Mode, you definitely think of fighting a giant bag of bugs whose tactical depth comes from running around in a circle and randomly rolling dice. Which, let's be honest, is about as deep as flipping a coin. He does gain a lot of points because he can heal himself if he rolls a 16 or higher on 3 dice, but this is incredibly unlikely because there's a pretty big window to hit them back at him to reduce the roll. And don't worry, the EXP0 exploit comes to the rescue again, because if you're not making a mockery of a boss battle, are you even really playing? And yes, I do have footage.
Get me straight.
Yeah, he's pretty weak on Proud Mode. He wasn't all that hard anyway, but he could be quite a nuisance if you were unprepared for his weird gimmicks. Due to the post-rescue status, his health has risen to 800, his strength is now 35, and his defense is now 27. He has 6 resistances, 2 to fire, 2 to blizzard, 1 to thunder, and 1 to stun, gaining 250 points for each. However, he loses 250 points for his weakness to physical strikes. Not to worry though, because he gets those back immediately with his immunity to stop magic. He gains 400 points for being able to summon 2 gargoyles, 2 search ghosts, or 2 white knights at a time, and another 600 for having a move set of 6 moves. Not a massively difficult boss, but it can be very time consuming if you don't know how to properly engage him. His dice gimmick actually does have some depth to it if you believe. He throws 3 dice, giving him a maximum roll of 18, and by deflecting these you can reduce the roll. If he rolls a 1, 2, or 3, he gets the saw gimmick. If he gets 4, 5, or 6, he'll spawn 2 gargoyles. If he gets 7, 8, or 9, he'll spawn 2 white knights. 10, 11, and 12, he'll use his knife trap. 13, 14, or 15 is 2 search ghosts, and 16, 17, and 18 will get him the healing machine and recover some HP, which, just like his earlier counterpart on the list, grants him an additional 1000 points. As a bit of trivia, Oogie Boogie is one of the only characters in the Kingdom Hearts universe to die on screen, the others being Clayton, Maleficent, and obviously the main trio. Twice. Number 62. With a boss score of minus 3,527, we have Maleficent Fairy Form on Proud Mode. Yeah guys, she's a dark fairy, not a human. Not to be confused with Furry Maleficent. That's a completely different beast altogether. Since this is the Proud Mode version of Maleficent, we can actually use the EXP 0 strategy to our advantage. In this case, we can keep her stun locked the entire fight with stop magic. By summoning Bambi to keep your MP high, you can just keep cycling her with stop and combos. This trick only works on Proud Mode because Stop is actually buffed by the EXP 0 damage storage exploit, so it won't be as useful on Standard or Beginner, but you can literally skip the entire fight by doing this, if you're able to get over the bad targeting controls, that really like to prioritize the bloody platform. She has 3 resistances, to Fire, Blizzard, and Stun. So yeah, again, just like Ursula, despite her Thunder-based moveset in the fight, she is not resistant to Thunder. She has 4 moves. Meteor of Heaven, Unleash Thy Fury, which sounds terrifying until you realize that you could just walk to the side or even guard it. You can also attack her during this animation by summoning Dumbo. Her purple thunder spell can follow you everywhere, except for exactly on or under the floating platform. She has a green smoke transformation that'll damage you if you're too close to her at the time, and a basic staff swing that she will only do if you're literally right in front of her. A lot of her boss points actually come from the Heartless mobs that she spawns to help her out. They're all level 3 Heartless, and they include any of 4 Defenders and Dark Balls, granting her an extra 1200 points. For boss trivia, you can actually summon Dumbo and start splashing her. She will turn towards you and do absolutely nothing until you run out of fluid. Yeah, secret weakness unlocked, guys. This is the start of an epic romance, I'm sure of it. Oh, look at her, she loves it. Number 61. Back to Atlantica for a familiar, friendly face. With a total boss score of minus 3,278, we have Glut the Shark post-Kyrie rescue. Not much to say here, he's the exact same fight as before, just with slightly more health. It's a slight bit more challenging because of this, but it's a shark. There are only so many things you can do with a shark. Like, what were you expecting? Another move? He has Bite, Thrash, and Swim. This covers 4 moves somehow. His HP has increased to 300 compared to his pre-rescue version of 200, and his strength is 35 and his defense is 27. He has a rush attack, which can allow him to cover large distances very quickly. However, you can just use stop magic to create some distance if you need to. And you can still interact with this text box mid-fight to gain invincibility. And as discussed before, since this counts as a story-related text box, this invincible is literally in-game plot armor. This also results in this hilarious interaction where Sora is invincible in the cutscene, but the shark still attacks him by pushing him off screen. For obvious reasons, this is not a full safe zone because you're still in danger as soon as you close the text box. You can't heal or recover while you're there, so it doesn't really count. However, you can just leave this attack range and he will de-aggro, which is a relative safe zone for 1000 points. If you want to be a bit of a tool, you can take pot shots at the shark, then reopen the text box before he attacks you for an invincible shield, and then attack him again, open the text box. It's a bit finicky to perform because the lock-on gimmick is really stupid. You'd be better off just doing it the normal way, but you can technically fight him this way. As for a bit of trivia, not so much on Kingdom Hearts, but on sharks. Sharks are actually a really old genus of animals, and they have been around on the planet longer than trees. They're essential for the maintenance of pest species like jellyfish, which can get in the way of us humans by clogging the exhaust for power stations. And a lot of sharks aren't even interested in humans. They don't really want to attack you. Number 60. With a total boss score of minus 3,181, we have During the Hades Cup Seed 44, we have a solo match against Yuffie, and she's just as easy as she looks. Phase 1 is just her running around and throwing a really slow-moving shuriken at you, which you can guard to send back in her face to stun her. And Phase 2 is a slightly faster, larger, unblockable shuriken that you can just jump over. Yeah. Her most dangerous ability is the ability to heal. So if your DPS is too low, she can outlast you unless you keep your attacks up, so plus 1,000 points to her for that. But if Sora's at a reasonable level, she isn't strong enough to be much of a threat on her own. She has some very low health for a late game boss, but her stats are Arc Behemoth level at 40 and 30, where she has 3 resistances to fire, blizzard, and of course, stun. Even though that's obviously not true. She's a tier 2 boss, moving around very slowly compared to the player. She does low DPS and her attacks come out very slow, causing her to lose another 6,000 points, which is why she is fittingly at number 60 on the list, despite being the only Final Fantasy character who can heal. As trivia, Yuffie wasn't even supposed to be in this game. She was a replacement character. Originally, Riku from Final Fantasy X was going to take her place, but the devs thought it'd be too weird to have another character named Riku, so they replaced her with Yuffie. Number 59. With a total boss score of minus 3,160, we have one of our endgame bosses from the final world, Arc Behemoth. And this time he's on standard or beginner mode, so none of your EXP 0 shenanigans. The journal has it as a weaker version of the Behemoth Heartless, however this one actually has larger strength and defense. Its HP is lower by 300 at 1050, but it has every other feature from size to movement speed exactly the same as its weaker cousin. And its stats are actually higher than its cousin Heartless. It's basically a brick wall moving at a snail's pace, with a big shiny video game weakness on his head. Every now and then he'll rear up and down like a horse to give the illusion of doing something, and maybe you'll be threatened by this if you didn't have 2.5 frigging minutes to heal every time you got hit. It has another unblockable attack in the form of a purple Thundaga, and you could avoid this by moving a good distance away. Not that you need to, just tank the damage and heal through it. Or just equip Leaf Bracer and heal if you're not in the mood to take this wide load seriously. Most of the points it gets on this list is because it's immune to 4 different things: fire, blizzard, thunder, and stop, granting it 2,000 boss points right there. Then on top of that, it gains another 250 for its resistance to stun. Big surprise there. As a tier 2 boss, it moves and attacks like it's weighed down by the weight of its own apathy. It does some pretty decent damage to you, when it's not using its body to shield you from its own attacks. It's expected to be at level 10 to fight this boss. Now, while you won't be doing very much physical damage at this point, you will have a fairly comfortable experience given that this boss can be cheesed even without EXP 0. Yes, just employ the gravity cheese spam. Summon Bambi to keep your MP high, and just jump and cast gravity to deplete the vast majority of its health in under 10 seconds. Its less HP bar can be dealt with slowly using physical hits. Otherwise, it's not that hard to beat this boss, just tedious. As trivia, this Heartless was included in the final mix version of the game, and it's the only Behemoth variant so far that is not in the vanilla Kingdom Hearts game. In the vanilla Kingdom Hearts game, all locations where Arc Behemoth is seen were actually normal behemoths, and you can see this in the final mix version of the game. The Behemoth is the only exclusive Heartless boss to have an enemy counter, which will always be at 1 in the final mix. Now, this is because you could originally fight more of them.